The wind howled across the wide Montana plains that night. The old ranch sat alone under a dark sky, its windows glowing faintly with the warm light of a single lamp. Inside, Eli Turner sat by the fireplace the same way he did every night. He was a man who had learned to live with silence. The world had taken his wife years ago, and after that, he had found peace only in the rhythm of his land, the cattle, the fences, and the stars above. But that night was not meant to be peaceful. Through the sound of the wind, Eli heard something else, a faint cry. At first he thought it was the wind itself, but then he heard it again, sharper this time. A voice, someone calling. He grabbed his coat, pulled on his boots, and stepped into the cold. The rain was steady, the road muddy under his truck's tires. As his headlights cut through the darkness, he saw her, a young woman standing at the edge of the road, drenched, barefoot, and trembling. Her eyes looked lost, as if she had been running for miles. He stopped and opened the door. "You all right, miss?" he asked softly. The girl didn't answer. She stared at him with wide, frightened eyes, then whispered in a broken voice, "Please, no more pain." And then she collapsed. Eli caught her before she hit the ground. She was light, shivering hard, her clothes soaked through. He didn't ask questions. He carried her into the truck and drove home through the storm, the wipers struggling to keep up. At the ranch, he laid her on the couch by the fire and covered her with a blanket. Steam rose from her wet hair as the heat began to chase away the chill. For a long time, she didn't speak. She only stared into the fire as if afraid it might go out. Eli made her a bowl of soup and left it by her side. "Eat when you can," he said, his voice gentle but firm. "You're safe here." For 2 days, she barely said a word. She would wake up startled, look around the room as if expecting someone to appear, then calm down when she saw only Eli nearby. He never pressed her for answers. He only made sure she had food, warmth, and space to rest. By the third morning, she spoke. Her voice was quiet and unsure. "My name is Anna," she said. Eli nodded. "Nice to meet you, Anna. I'm Eli Turner." She didn't say more. But from that moment, she began to move around the house a little, helping him feed the horses and clean the barn. She worked slowly, carefully, as if afraid to do something wrong. Every sound made her flinch. When Eli raised his voice to call out to the cattle, she froze, her eyes full of old fear. One afternoon, while brushing one of the horses, she smiled faintly. "They don't judge," she said, patting the animal's mane. Eli looked at her and replied, "Neither do I." It was the first time she looked at him without fear. Days passed into weeks. The ranch was quiet again, but this time it felt different, warmer. Anna began to laugh softly when the dog chased chickens across the yard. She began to hum while washing dishes. Eli noticed that the dark circles under her eyes started to fade. Still, he knew she was holding something back, something heavy. One evening, when the sky burned orange over the hills, Eli found Anna sitting alone in the barn. Her hands were clenched, her shoulders shaking. He stepped closer but said nothing. After a moment, she spoke. "I wasn't always like this," she whispered. "I used to have dreams." Eli sat beside her quietly. "I ran away," she continued, tears falling freely now, "from someone who said he loved me. He hurt me instead. I thought I could fix him. I thought I could change everything if I just stayed. But I was wrong," her voice broke. "He said no one would believe me, that no one would help me." Eli listened, his jaw tight but his tone calm. "You're not there anymore, Anna. You're safe now." She nodded, though her eyes said she didn't quite believe it. A few days later, strange things began to happen. One morning, Eli found tire marks near the front gate deep in the mud, though no one had visited. That evening, he noticed the latch on the barn door broken, as if forced open. He brushed it off at first, but then one night he found something new, a piece of paper stuck under the front door. The handwriting was rough, almost carved into the page. "She's mine." Eli's stomach turned cold. He looked toward the small room where Anna was sleeping, then back at the note. Whoever she'd run from had found her. The next morning, he showed her the paper. Anna froze, her hands trembling. "It's him," she whispered. "He knows I'm here." "Then he'll have to go through me first," Eli said, folding the note and slipping it into his pocket. Anna shook her head, tears in her eyes. "You don't understand. He always gets what he wants. You can't fight him." Eli looked out the window at his land, wide, strong, and his own. I've been fighting the land my whole life, he said quietly. Storms, droughts, losses. I'm still here. I can fight one more thing if I have to. He went to town the next day and spoke to the sheriff, but the man looked uneasy. That's a dangerous fellow you're talking about, Eli, he said. He owns half the county. We can't just Eli cut him off. Then I'll handle it myself. When he returned home, he found Anna packing her small bag. I have to go, she said. I won't let you get hurt because of me. Eli stepped forward, his tone firm but kind. You've been running long enough, Anna. You stop now. You hear me? You stop right here. Tears filled her eyes again, but she didn't move. The evening came with heavy clouds rolling in. Eli walked the perimeter of his land, checking the fences, feeling the tension in the air. He had no plan to fight anyone. He wasn't a man of violence, but he knew what it meant to stand your ground. Inside the house, Anna sat near the fire, staring at the note again. She could still hear the man's voice in her mind, telling her she belonged to him, that no one could save her. But then she remembered Eli's calm voice saying, You're safe now. For the first time, she wanted to believe it. Later that night, she stepped out to the porch. Eli was there, sitting on the steps, the stars glinting above the dark horizon. Why are you helping me? She asked softly. He didn't answer right away. He watched the night sky for a long time before saying, Because someone once helped me when I was lost. That's how the world keeps going. One person standing up when it's hard. Anna looked at him, then at the wide field stretching beyond the fences. For the first time in months, she didn't feel like running. The night wind blew gently, carrying the scent of the pines and the distant sound of coyotes. Somewhere in that quiet, something inside her began to heal, not all at once, but just enough for her to breathe again. As Eli stood to go inside, he said quietly, Whatever comes, we'll face it. Anna looked up at him. His face was lined with years of hard living, but his eyes were steady, the kind of eyes that made you believe the world could still be kind. That night, the rain began again, soft and steady against the roof. Anna lay awake listening to it, feeling both fear and strange comfort. For the first time, she was not alone in the storm, and though danger was still out there, waiting, watching, and she knew that something had changed. She had found a place that felt like hope, and a man who reminded her that goodness still existed in the world, even in its quiet corners. The morning after the storm, the ranch felt different. The clouds had cleared and the world looked washed clean, but Eli Turner could feel the weight of something unseen. He walked to the gate and saw new tire marks on the dirt road again. Someone had been there, watching. Anna stood on the porch, clutching her shawl. He's close, she said quietly. Eli nodded, his face calm though his eyes were sharp. Then we'll be ready. He wasn't a man who believed in running from what was right. He had seen enough of life to know that fear only grew when you turned away from it. Still, he didn't want Anna to live another day in fear. He wanted her to see what it meant when someone chose to stand, not hide. That evening, Eli made a few phone calls. One of them was to an old friend, Sheriff Dan Harker, a man he'd known since their younger days. Harker had a good heart, but he worked in a world full of politics and pressure. When Eli told him about Anna and the man who was searching for her, Harker sighed heavily. Eli, you know how this goes, the sheriff said. That man has friends in high places. He can twist the truth any way he wants. Eli's voice was quiet but steady. Then let him try. I just need you to be ready when he comes. Harker was silent for a long moment. You always did pick the hard road, Eli, he said finally. All right. I'll be there if it comes to it. That night, the ranch was still. The air was cool, the stars bright above the wide land. Anna sat near the window watching the fields. Her thoughts drifted to the past she had run from. The fear, the lies, the feeling of being trapped in a world where no one would believe her. But then she thought of Eli, the quiet man who had taken her in without asking questions, who spoke little but always meant what he said. When she looked at him, sitting by the fire with his old hat resting on his knee, she realized something. For the first time in years, she trusted someone. Eli, she said softly. He looked up from the fire. Why do you care so much? She asked. You don't even know me. Eli smiled faintly. I don't need to know your past to see you deserve a future. Her eyes filled with tears, but she blinked them away. You could get hurt because of me. He shook his head. I already lost enough by staying silent once in my life. I won't do that again. His words settled deep in her heart. She didn't know what he meant by lost enough, but she could tell there was a story there, one he didn't talk about. The following day was bright and calm. Eli went about his chores as usual, fixing the fence, feeding the animals. Anna helped him, laughing when a stubborn goat refused to move. For a brief time it felt like peace, but peace never lasts long when darkness refuses to let go. That afternoon a black truck appeared at the end of the road. It stopped near the gate but didn't come closer. Eli watched it for a long time, then turned to Anna. "Go inside," he said quietly. She hesitated. "Is it?" "Yes." The truck sat there for a few minutes before driving off. But Eli knew it wasn't over. It was just a warning. That night the air felt heavy again. Eli sat near the door, awake, listening. The sound of the wind brushed across the house, but beneath it, he thought he heard something else. The crunch of tires far off in the dark. He stood slowly, the floorboards creaking under his boots. "Stay in your room, Anna," he said quietly. She nodded, her face pale but calm. She trusted him now, and somehow that made her stronger. Outside, the sound of engines faded, then returned. Headlights cut across the field. Eli stood tall on the porch, his coat swaying in the wind. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't show fear. He simply waited. The truck stopped near the gate. A man stepped out, the one Anna had feared for so long. He didn't look like a monster. He looked like any other man, but his presence carried arrogance and power. He called out across the distance, "She's coming with me." Eli's voice carried firm and clear through the night. "She's under my roof. That means she's safe. You'd best turn around." The man laughed, a cold sound. "You can't protect her forever, old man." "Maybe not," Eli said, "but I can protect her tonight. And sometimes one night makes all the difference." The standoff lasted a long time, neither man moving. Then headlights appeared from the other side of the road, the sheriff's car. Dan Harker stepped out, his hand resting on his belt. "Evening, gentlemen," he said, his tone calm but carrying warning. "Something wrong here?" The man at the gate froze, realizing he'd been expected. His smirk faded. "Just a misunderstanding," he muttered, backing toward his truck. "Good," Harker said. "Then let's keep it that way." The trucks drove off, their engines fading into the night. The quiet that followed felt heavy but clean, like the air after lightning. Eli turned back toward the house. Anna was standing in the doorway, her eyes full of tears she couldn't hold back. "I thought he would never stop," she whispered. "He stopped tonight," Eli said simply. But the story didn't end there. The sheriff's report and Eli's testimony led to an investigation. Slowly, truth began to surface. Stories from others who had suffered in silence, witnesses who had been afraid to speak. The man who thought he owned everything began to lose his power. Justice came not through anger but through patience and courage. When the court day came, Anna walked into the room with her head high. Her hands trembled, but she didn't turn away. Eli sat in the back row, his hat resting on his knee, his eyes steady on her. She told her story in a clear voice, not about pain but about survival. When it was over, she looked toward Eli, and for the first time she smiled. It wasn't a smile of victory but of peace. Weeks passed. The seasons changed. The ranch returned to its quiet rhythm, the cattle grazing, the wind sweeping through the grass, the smell of rain returning now and then. Anna stayed. Not because she had nowhere else to go, but because she wanted to. She found meaning in simple things, feeding the horses, planting new flowers by the porch, painting the old barn door a soft blue color. Eli would tease her, saying, "Didn't know blue fit in with cow country." She'd laugh and reply, "It fits now." One evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Anna brought Eli a cup of coffee and sat beside him on the porch. The sky was painted with streaks of gold and pink. "Do you ever regret helping me?" she asked quietly. Eli shook his head. "No, this place needed life again. You brought that back." "You saved me," she said softly. He smiled a little, the kind of smile that comes from deep understanding. "No, Anna, you saved yourself. I just gave you a safe place to remember who you are." For a while they sat in silence, listening to the sound of the wind moving through the grass. It was the same wind that had carried her to his door months ago, broken, afraid, and lost. But now it carried something else. Hope. Years later, people in the nearby town would still speak of that story. They'd talk about the quiet rancher who stood up when others looked away, and the young woman who found her courage again on a lonely stretch of land. They'd say the world needs more. People like Eli Turner, People who believe that kindness is stronger than fear. And somewhere beyond those rolling fields, under the same wide Montana sky, Anna would always remember the night she whispered, "Please, no more pain," and how in one man's quiet strength she found her answer.